Well, in this hour, we should get to realize that NSSF is continuing to pay savers, so those who are eligible to receive this particular access to their savings with NSSF, you are still able to access these funds, the midterm benefits, if I'm to put it in that way. But with this hour, we start off with our business tip of the morning. What can you learn today? Now, the business tip says user experience is everything. It always has been, but it's undervalued and underinvested in. If you don't know user-centered design, study it. Hire people who know it, obsess over it, live and breathe it. Then get your whole company on board. User experience is everything. It always has been, but it is undervalued and underinvested in. If you don't know how user-centered design, then study it or hire people who know it, obsess over it, live and breathe it. Get your whole company involved in the same situation. For that matter, as a business person, you get to realize that user experience is just more like feedback, I should say. And of course, you as an individual as well in the business kind of situation is you have got to experience the kind of service you're rendering out to people. Experience it, live it. At least that way people will get to understand that, well, if this is what I'm giving out to the people, or if this is the kind of product I'm selling out to the market, this is how people will respond to it. This is what it will meet. These are the kinds of needs it will be able to sustain for that same matter. So that is according to what this business tip is apparently bringing onto the board this morning. Now let's as well get some motivation with our business quote this morning. Now, the business quote is coming in from Napoleon Hill, who says, if you cannot do greater things, if you got to do great things, do small things in a great way. If you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. That is according to what Napoleon Hill says. Well, if you are not destined for greatness, you can be destined to doing great things at the end of everything. So that way you can still do small things and they can become great. So that is how the greatness will definitely come up. So that is what the quote is saying. Do the small things in a great way. If you think you can't do great things, that is how you will know that you are destined for that kind of great situation. Now, off to our social media trends on the timeline. One of those key trends that were ongoing and that was causing spark all over the users was driving around President Yoweri Museveni, son of the NRM apologists, of course, trying to as well point a picture of what Ugandans don't know about the good things that the president has apparently brought onto the space in the country. But however, on the other hand, also President Museveni pushing forward to ensuring that economic transformation and prosperity is one of those that is being driven around in the country to ensure that Ugandans do secure their future. Now let's get our social media trends as of yesterday's. Now, Nimurungi Kathy at Kathy Nimurungi with a tweet that at the end of last year, President Museveni commissioned the Mpondwe one-stop border post and the Mpondwe Lubihiriha border export zone in Kasese district. Now, she apparently put up the two pictorials where President Museveni was at the two one-stop border posts. That is the Mpondwe Lubiriha and then the one in Mpondwe, all in Kasese. Then ground updates at ground underscore updates. President Museveni said that in order to ensure prosperity, Africa must become one market under the spirit of Pan-Africanism, which is one of the four core principles of the National Resistance Movement, NRM, others being patriotism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. That is according to ground updates at ground underscore updates with that particular tweet. Then Philip Crystal at Crystal1Philip with a tweet that President Museveni also noted that some Ugandans have started waking up and are engaging in commercial agriculture, which has led to excess production that cannot be absorbed by the small market for Uganda and at times East Africa. That is according to Ugandan on Twitter, Philip Crystal at Crystal1Philip. Then car_Lisa Chadrak at Chadrak Lisa with a tweet that when it comes to value addition, President Museveni confessed that he will not tolerate anybody who stands in his way. As President Museveni has continuously come on to remind Ugandans to embrace value addition. Now, Naziwa Rachel at N. Rachel. President Museveni is strengthening the economy of Uganda by focusing on agriculture, infrastructure, and healthcare. Now, the pictorials of the cities and, of course, other key infrastructural developments that the government of NRM has been able to achieve in the past 37 years. As Naziwa Rachel with that tweet about how President Museveni is strengthening the economy of Uganda by focusing on agriculture, infrastructure, and healthcare. Then lastly, from the social media trends, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni with a tweet that is Yoweri K. Museveni at Kaguta Museveni. Right from the start, the study of economics is the study of scarcity. You can live for 8 days without food and still survive. You can survive without water for 3 days, but you cannot survive without oxygen for more than 3 minutes. You will die. So he says the study of economics is the study of scarcity. You can live for 8 days without food and still survive. You can survive without water for 3 days, but you cannot survive without oxygen for more than 3 minutes, because then you will die. That is according to what President Museveni has got to say with that tweet. Now, our next business update is taking us to the NSSF Amendment Act. Now, on the other hand, the NSSF is set to continue paying the servers, as the National Social Security Fund will continue paying members benefits despite a directive by the IGG, Betty Kamea, to probe the fund. Now, in about 3 days, if you're to look at this, the NSSF has paid 13 billion shillings in benefits to members, according to the Finance Minister, Matia Gasaija, and the Gender Minister, Betty Amongi. While addressing the media yesterday at the Uganda Media Center in Kampala, both the ministers, that is Betty Amongi of Gender and Labour Development, as well as Matia Gasaija, did reveal that the operations of the fund are going on normally, and nothing has been halted regarding the recent investigations into the fund of NSSF. Now, there as well an issue regarding mandatory contributions to NSSF that has been highlighted, where employers have been reminded to remit their employees' savings to NSSF, as the Ministry of Gender and Labour. Remember, the Ministry of Labour and Gender and Labour Development is the supervisor for the same particular NSSF, and also there is something to do with the compliance being called upon. The employers have been called upon to comply with NSSF. As well, there is also new talks about the voluntary savings, which needs compliance. Of course, for example, individuals or business owners who are voluntarily saving to NSSF. That is also something that is in there. Now, speaking at a SEP press conference yesterday, there was also the Chief Executive Officer of the Uganda Retirement Benefits Authority, that is UBRA, Martin Subga, who said that the probe by the Inspector General of Government and the Auditor General only affects a small portion of the fund, which is the real estate investment. And he was quoted saying, as far as the fund is concerned, we can all attest that the NSSF fund is safe to the best of our knowledge. Now, as the regulator, he did say that they would like to assure the general public and the NSSF members that they will continue to play the oversight role, and that the money is safe and all investments are in asset classes approved by the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. So that is according to what is coming in from the update. Now, according to NSSF, like I said, They have so far paid close to 13 billion shillings in benefits over the last 3 days. If members want to apply for their money, they can still apply. So if you're eligible, if you've served for the last 10 years with NSSF and you've not been able to access your midterm benefits and you're 45 years and above, you can definitely still apply and receive your midterm benefits of your savings. But not only that, now for the people with disabilities who have served for the last 10 years with NSSF and of course are 40 years and above, can at least access 50% of their savings with NSSF. On the other hand, those with 45 years and above, those without disabilities, can access 20% of their savings from the National Social Security Fund. But with that, let's first get more from the update coming in from the Honorable Betty Amongi, who is the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, regarding the NSSF Amendment Act.
That the National Social Security Fund Amendment Act was assented to by His Excellency the President on the 2nd January 2022. Subsequently, it was published in the Gazette on 7th January 2022. Among the objectives of this amendment of 2022 are: number one, to expand Social Security coverage. Whereas Section 4 and 13A introduce mandatory contributions by all workers, regardless of the size of the enterprise or the number of employees. Further, the Act introduced voluntary contributions to the fund, where a member can contribute over and above his or her standard contributions. The standard contributions now is 5% from your salary, 10% from your employer, making 15%. So with the new Act, if you want to add 20% or additional 10%, the law now permits you that you can save over and above the 15% of the contribution. Also, the new Act introduced the concept where self-employed persons can also apply an open member saving account for voluntary contributions. The Act also broadened the need for compliance upon coming into force. Therefore, the National Social Security Fund is under obligation to implement this new law and its provisions as amended without exception. You will also need to know that when the new law came into force, it is the very time that the mandate to supervise the fund was returned to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Therefore, in order for us to implement these strategic objectives of the new law, as the supervising minister in the new Act, I directed the board to propose key initiatives that would be implemented to expand coverage of social protection and enforce compliance. Our target, which we have agreed with the board, is to increase coverage from the current 1.3 million members that have balances with NSSF to 15 million by 2025. In the next 5 years, we are looking at increasing it from 1.3 to 5 million. By 2025, we must have at least 15 million, and I will tell you where the figure is coming from. Through all this, I asked the board to ponder on key questions and considered the following issues. How can the fund leverage ministries, departments, and other government agencies to ensure compliance with the Act? How can the fund leverage the labor inspectors under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development to expand its membership recruitment and ensure employer compliance, especially at local government level. As you are aware, NSSF is not in all the districts. But the Ministry of Gender and the Labor Department has labor inspectors in almost all the districts. We have 165 labor officers with the mandate of enforcing compliance with the contribution of workers in all the workplaces in the country. So I ask the board to ponder and come with strategy how the labor inspectors can be utilized to expand coverage. I ask them to look at how the fund can leverage the reach and services of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ensure that Ugandans in the diaspora are part of social security network. Under my ministry, I have over 250,000 Ugandans working in the Middle East, majority of whom are sending their money in an ad hoc way to save. And they have expressed willingness to save with NSSF. I have tasked the board to work with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and my ministry to see how the Ugandans in the diaspora will be able to benefit from this new law. We have also looked at how the fund can leverage existing groups, associations in the informal sector, women in the markets, farmers, transport sectors, the borders, the taxi drivers, and other communities who are saving in the local communities. How can they be brought to save under the new law which has introduced voluntary saving for anybody in this country? It is important to note that currently we have challenges. Compliance rate by employers in the formal sector only stands at 51%. So with all our industrial park, with all our plantations, with all our construction works, where they are employing workers, we are still only having 51% complying to contribute the funds. It means that 49% of employers are not remitting to the NSSF contributions, their contributions and workers' contributions to the fund. By December 31st, 2021, we had 420 cases reported by whistleblowers indicating that their employers are not complying. So I'm sure some of you might be seated here. You don't know whether your employer is even remitting your money. And these whistleblowers have been telling us that for me, I'm working, but they are not remitting my money. By January 17, 2022, 213 cases were in court for purpose of people who are not remitting their money, 65% in Central Region. And this is a region with the highest number of employers who should be remitting. But 65% of cases in court wanting enforcement existed in Central, 15 in North, 20 in East and Western, with an outstanding 200 billion unremitted contribution. So 200 billion is under contestation. Whistleblowers, non-remittance is lying out there that needs to be collected. Over 20 cases by employees are in court seeking that NSSF should remit their money because the employers have not remitted. So there are people who have also taken NSF to court saying that my employers have not remitted. It should have been you, NSSF, to enforce to make my employers remit. So it is you now to make sure that my money is recovered. Those categories are also in court. It's also worth noting that 48% of employers in the fund have 5 or more employees that fall under the old laws. So under the old laws, we have 48% of employers. Therefore, this new law is to target the remaining 52%. The employers who are 50, meaning that 52% of employers have workers who are 5 and below. because the current law says you must have 5 employers and above for you to remit. But now, with the new law, this 52% of employers, we have to mobilize them to start contributing. So if you have a company with only 1 employer, you are in the market with only 1 employer, you can now, a company with 2 or 3, and we had so many companies that were not remitting because they fall under that category. The new law is also bringing on board informal sector, and according to Uganda Investment Authority and Uganda Bureau of Statistics, 75% of the total employers are in the informal sector. So this new law is to mobilize 75% of those in the informal sectors to contribute. This requires conducting registration. So what are the key strategic areas and initiatives we have introduced to implement this mandate under the new law? In respect to the above, I directed the board to examine strategic areas and activities that should bring on board and address the new law by establishing an online system for whistleblowers who can report non-compliance by employers who deduct their money but do not remit. So this online system will be used if you realize that your employer is not remitting your money. You don't need to lose your job, because majority are saying, if I come as a whistleblower and I'm known, I'm going to be sacked from my job. This time we want you to be able to call, anonymous call, and say, this company where it's located here, I'm working here, is not remitting money, my money and money for the workers.
Okay, now let me break this down for you. A total of 420 cases of defaulting employers have been brought to the Labour Ministry's attention. Now, on that same matter, 213 of these employers or of these defaulters have been dragged to various magistrate courts across the country for failure to remit to the National Social Security Fund. Now, employers have failed to remit, according to NSSF, 200 billion shillings of their workers' contribution to the National Social Security Fund, according to what the Labour Minister has revealed. So she does reveal that only 1.3 million of the 2 million registered employees remit their contributions. Now, that goes back to the employees who are registered with NSSF, have NSSF accounts, but are not receiving the money. Now, out of the 2 million, only 1.3 million have their companies remitting their funds to NSSF. Now, also amongst the 1.3 million, 360,000 employers are monthly savers. This means 690,000 accounts are dormant, according to what NSSF has revealed. But of course, the minister does reveal that there will be a number where any whistleblower can easily call in to remind the ministry and NSSF that their company is not remitting their NSSF, obviously, to the particular matter of saving. But of course, mwana watu we osobola okwetandikirawo that saving scheme today. How possible is that? Use the USSD code *292# and Zabu gives you that advantage for you not to only wait for your employer to remit your funds, but you can save your money into the government bonds by investing it. Well, what you need to do is simply use the USSD code *292#. And if you do not have the account yet, please use your name to open up one, and in the next 24 hours you will be able to invest in Zabu's platform. Zabu says, my money, my future. The only minimum amount you need there is 15,000 Ugandan shillings to kickstart off your investment journey. And of course, you'll be able to kickstart off your investment. The markets open at 8:15 a.m. and as we speak, they're already open and they will be closed at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. Please note that these markets are closed over the weekend and on public holidays. Zabu, my money, my future. Altix East Africa says do something new. So do not wait to click 45 for you to at least get access to your NSSF midterm benefits, but well, you can easily start your investment with Zabu and invest in government bonds. And the next 6, 7, 3 years, you'll be able to at least earn from your particular investments as quick as possible. Well, after the break, we will be returning with sports and entertainment business information here on Smart Means Business. Good morning.